Let me ask you something. In a world where almost everything is shared, birthdays, coffee cups, sunsets, even pain dressed up with filters, why do some people stay completely silent? They scroll quietly, observe deeply, but rarely, if ever, post. Maybe you know someone like that. Maybe you are someone like that. And here's the question that lingers. Why? Why would someone choose to stay unseen when the whole world seems to be shouting for attention? Today, we'll uncover the hidden psychology behind people who don't post on social media. And trust me, it's deeper than shyness. Welcome to Silent Psyche Lab. Here we explore the hidden layers of human behavior. In this video, we'll break down 5 powerful psychological reasons why some people choose silence online. Each reason reveals something profound about identity, privacy, and human connection. By the end, you'll see that not posting is not emptiness. It's a statement. It's a choice. And it might even be a quiet kind of freedom. For some, silence is not emptiness. It's control. It's the power to choose what the world doesn't get to know. Social media has reshaped how we define ourselves. It rewards display. It praises noise. But those who stay in the shadows are often the ones who see everything most clearly. Psychologists call this psychological ownership. The feeling that something belongs deeply to you, a thought, a memory, an experience. And when you post it, that sense of ownership fades just a little. The moment becomes shared property, open to judgment, misinterpretation, even mockery. So people who don't post are often guarding their sense of ownership over life itself. They keep their moments untouchable, private, pure. And maybe that's not sadness or withdrawal. Maybe it's a quiet kind of freedom. Psychologists have found something fascinating. People who refrain from posting frequently often score higher on traits like self-restraint, introspection, and emotional independence. They tend to be less influenced by social comparison and external validation. In other words, they aren't trying to prove who they are. They're trying to understand it. And in a world drowning in performances, that's rare because, let's be honest, most of what we post is not just communication, it's identity crafting. Every caption, every photo, every status update says, "This is who I am. Do you approve?" But when you stop posting, something shifts. You begin to detach your worth from digital applause. You stop thinking in captions. You start experiencing moments for yourself again, instead of for a lens. That's the secret psychology behind many people who don't post. They crave authenticity in a space where everything feels staged. If you're finding this breakdown insightful, hit that subscribe button and join our community here at Silent Psyche Lab. Comment below. Do you post often or do you prefer silence? I'd love to hear your perspective. Posting can become performance. Every photo, every caption is an unconscious audition for belonging. People who stop posting often realize they were living for the lens, not for themselves. Think about it. Cooking without photographing it, traveling without tagging it, laughing without explaining it. That's the quiet rebellion. Because when you've seen how easy it is to manipulate perception, you start valuing what can't be posted. Silence, depth, imperfection, truth. For some, the decision not to post comes after emotional burnout. Maybe they once did share everything until one day it stopped feeling real. They realized that every time they shared something beautiful, they felt an invisible pressure to keep outdoing it. They weren't living anymore. They were performing. So they quit quietly. No announcement, just a slow disappearance from the feed. But not everyone's silence is peaceful. Some are driven by fear, the fear of judgment, rejection, or being misunderstood. Social media has amplified a subtle form of anxiety psychologists call self-presentational pressure. It's the constant awareness that you're being watched, even when you're not. And for many, that's exhausting. They worry that what they say might be misread or, worse, ignored. So they retreat. Not because they don't want to connect, but because the cost of visibility feels too high. They want to be seen, but only truly, not superficially. And ironically, sometimes the quietest people online have the loudest thoughts in their minds. They're not absent, they're overflowing. They just choose stillness instead of spectacle. Silence online doesn't mean absence. It often means people are building deeper connections offline. They value conversations without captions, laughter without witnesses, and relationships that don't need proof. There's a deep philosophical undertone to that silence. In a world that constantly says, "Look at me," choosing invisibility becomes a form of self-definition. It's saying, "I exist beyond your perception." They might scroll through others' lives, nodding, smiling, sometimes aching, but they rarely project because they understand something most don't. Not everything you experience is meant to be witnessed. Sometimes the most profound things in life, growth, grief, transformation, happen quietly, unseen, unposted. And when you've lived through enough of those private transformations, you start realizing that being unseen is not the same as being insignificant. It's actually where identity is formed, not performed. Silence online doesn't mean absence. It often means people are building deeper connections offline. They value conversations without captions, laughter without witnesses, and relationships that don't need proof. There's a deep philosophical undertone to that silence. In a world that constantly says, "Look at me," choosing invisibility becomes a form of self-definition. It's saying, "I exist beyond your perception." They might scroll through others' lives, nodding, smiling, sometimes aching, but they rarely project because they understand something most don't. Not everything you experience is meant to be witnessed. Sometimes the most profound things in life, growth, grief, transformation, happen quietly, unseen, unposted. And when you've lived through enough of those private transformations, you start realizing that being unseen is not the same as being insignificant. It's actually where identity is formed, not performed. So the next time you notice someone who never posts, don't assume they're hiding. Maybe they're just living. Maybe they've remembered what the rest of us forgot. That being unseen doesn't mean being alone. That being quiet doesn't mean being empty. That sometimes the truest expression of who you are is silence. Because in the end, we're not meant to be performances. We're meant to be people. And the people who don't post, they remind us of that every quiet, unfiltered, beautifully invisible moment. Thank you for watching Silent Psyche Lab. If you enjoy this exploration, subscribe for more deep dives into the human mind. And remember, not everything meaningful has to be shared. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words.